on ourselves for just a minute or so. So I invite you, if you wish to close your eyes. I will keep mine open just for the moment. And we are literally going to do an exercise just going through, as I say, grounding, checking in with ourselves. So I'll use my little singing bowl to start and finish, and I'll just talk you through it. So, as I say, if you wanted to close your eyes and just bring your attention, first of all, to your breath. And actually just taking that time to go inwards. So taking, four, count of four, whatever your count of four is on the inhale through the nose. And then if you're able to do a slightly long exhale for count 6 or 7 out through the mouth. And if you're able to keep your feet on the floor, put your shoes on, maybe kick those off. I'm just concentrating initially, so taking 2 or 3 of those nice slow breaths in and slow breaths out. I'm automatically closing my eyes doing this. And then initially just bring awareness to the top of your head. How does it feel? Got any sort of tightness across the top of your forehead or anything like that? Just be aware of it. Continue to focus on your breath. And then just moving down, relaxing all the muscles in your face and your eyes. Unclench your jaw. Let your tongue relax from the top of your mouth. Just going down into your shoulders. Are they feeling tight at all? Are they up around your ears? Bring them down. Just working down into your chest, being aware of your breathing. And relaxing your belly. And being aware of the front of your legs. Relaxing the muscles in your thighs and in your bum. And all the way down into your calves. And just be aware of your feet on the floor for a moment. Okay. When you're feeling ready, just wiggle your toes a little bit, wiggle your fingers if your eyes are closed, if you want to open them. And just bringing yourself back into the room. So I hope you're all still there with me, and that has maybe just given you a little bit of time to go inwards. I used to spend life at 1,000,000 miles an hour, so I'll tell you a little bit about me and how I came sort of on the journey that I'm on at the moment, and then we'll go through sort of all the things around what could be keeping us stuck and how, some little tips and tricks on how we could look to move forward. So I'm Faith. I am the founder of Crystal Clear. I believe that everybody in life has a soul mission, and that contributing our unique mission to the world makes it a much happier place. My mission is to help busy women feeling stuck find their soul mission in life, to live life on purpose through an inspiring journey of self-discovery. So how did I get started in this, in this field and in this business? It's very much become a sort of a passion project and a mission of mine. I was living life, several years ago at an absolute 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I think from the outside, life looked very good. I was very financially secure, had a really good job, had a family. But inside, there was just that nagging feeling that there had to be a different way to live life. And to be honest, I felt completely unfulfilled, really bored, miserable. And I think I was making everybody around me miserable as well, although it pains me to admit it. And I really felt like I was stuck and I was trapped in somebody else's life. I just sort of thought there's got to be more to this than trying to fit in, into a world where in my teens and 20s, I definitely tried to sort of fit in and not break the mold and not go out and do something different. On top of that, my health was suffering really badly. I'd put a lot of weight on. I'd had an incident that had happened where I had a swelling on my brain that had caused a lot of injury down the right-hand side of my body. And I'd gone to the doctors initially because I'd been unable to lift my leg up, and he actually said to me, I need to check that you've not had a stroke. And I think at that point there was a realization in a moment in my life where I thought I've got to do something different, but I really didn't know where to start. And I came across a lady who sort of started me on my coaching journey, if you like, in terms of where I began. And we literally, I've still got this bit of paper now, literally on a scrap of paper ripped out of a notebook. She sat down with me and said, look, you clearly things aren't right, you don't seem very happy, what can we do? And we literally sort of scribbled out all the things in my life of where I was and what I was doing. And it didn't really make much sense. And even now I look at it and think, God, that was the start of where the journey began. And what I realised in that moment when I sat down and talked to her was that my career was almost like at the expense of absolutely everything else in my life, and everything else was completely askew. As I said, my health was suffering, my friendships were suffering, my relationships were suffering, because my entire focus was on earning money in a very corporate career, sort of almost trying to prove myself that I was able to do that role. And I really didn't understand, as I say, why I was stuck and what it was that was holding me back. I knew that there was a different way, but I had absolutely no idea where to start and what to do. So I started on a real sort of journey, I call it, of self-discovery. I looked at lots of different, more traditional and lots of different modalities within the holistic healing field, which I'm sure a lot of you are all part of in this community, which is great. We've been hearing from some amazing people today. So it's really nice to be able to link in on that as well. So I started literally on a personal development journey, actually looking at different types of healing modalities. I've trained within Psych K, within quantum holographic echo healing, to actually start to realise that the things that were holding me back on my journey were all very much subconscious. Lots of limiting beliefs that I didn't even realise that were there. And the story that we are all there sort of telling ourselves is just simply not true. But what I realised throughout that process over the last few years was that actually we have got the power to make those changes and not live life in that way, and to live it in a different way. So I sort of started compiling my own system from lots of different things that I'd learned from lots of different people. I spent a lot of time investing in myself, going through all those different modalities, learning from lots and lots of other people around me, to bring that into what we do today. One of the other main things I realised was that I wasn't living life in line with what my values were. At the beginning of the process, I didn't really even know what my values were or what they meant to me, and in terms of how identifying what they were and then being able to live life in line with those values. So again, I spent lots of time looking at, things that were important to me. I've now developed my own sort of worksheets, which are available free to download on my website. And that will actually start to help you think about some of those things that are important. Once you're actually able to identify what your values are, you're then able to make decisions for your whole life based on what those values are. So my values are around being free. That's one of my main values in life, is to have the ability to be free to work how and when I choose, is one of my main values. It's all around being authentic for me as well, being true to who I am. As I said, in my teens and 20s, I spent a lot of time fitting in, and it just didn't feel like who I really was. I'm a massive Alice in Wonderland fan. One of the things I went out and did was I've now got a full Alice in Wonderland tattoo sleeve all down my arm, because it was just something that was like, it was me, it was about who I was, and I'm putting that out into the world. So there's a little bit about me. I'm a crazy mad Alice in Wonderland fan. One of my other values is all around growth, learning constantly, being in a place where we're able to learn, absorb new information. And I think that when we know more, we're able to be more and do more. Well-being, that was something that I had identified throughout my journey, that, I really was not looking after my well-being at all, in terms of my mind, my body, most definitely. I wasn't giving it proper nutrition. I wasn't exercising properly. And those were all things that I realised that I wanted to make a difference and change. I think another one of my values is all around making a difference, and actually being able to help other people. The journey that I've been on and the things that I've learned, I'm very passionate about being able to share those with other people and help other people be from the places that they've been in, to realise that actually you can move forward, and you can make changes and you can make a difference. Sometimes they're very small changes and they're very incremental. Other times, they can be big shifts, in terms of what we're doing. A lot of the work I do, I work all around sort of with people's energies, and actually looking at different, ways of healing that we can actually unlock where those barriers are, and actually be able to move forward. And I think, as I say, a lot of those things sit within our subconscious mind. Consciously we think, why can't we move forward? What aren't we able to do? But actually, when you're able to release some of those things subconsciously, it makes a massive shift in where your energy is. And it then means that you're able to make the changes that you want to do in your conscious mind. So what am I going to talk to you about next? So I think what I would invite you to do is think about, think about your values, think about, there are lots of things available online. I use a deck of cards, in terms of lots of different words. As I said, mine are all around being free, being authentic, growth, looking after my well-being and making a difference, in other people's lives. Your values will be very personal to you, and I would invite you to take the time to think about what those things are that mean something to you. Once you've started to think about that, and this obviously is a process, and my idea today was just to give you a sort of a brief idea of some starting points and some tips on things that could be holding you back and keeping you stuck in that place of fear. What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't do this? All those things. What will other people think, if I do something like this? I would invite you to start thinking about, if you haven't already, what are the things that are important to you? Is it being happy? Is it having joy in your life? Is it friendships? Is it family? What are the things that really drive you to be you and who you really are? So my next sort of invite to you would be, once you've thought about those, those values, and I sort of started off, I've refined mine over a number of years. I think what I would invite you to do is start to think about, I've got 5. I wouldn't go for many more than that. It crystallizes who you are. If you're able to have a look at those. So once you've started to think about your values, what I would invite you to do again is start to think about the different areas of your life. Let's say again, the worksheet that I've got sort of sets all this out for you, so you can do it quite easily, and actually start to sort of brainstorm some ideas around it. And I wouldn't, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'd just invite you to think about each of those areas, which was where I started. And when I realised, as I say, everything was focused around my career. And I was actually very unhappy because I wasn't meeting my own needs within other areas of my life. So start to think the areas that I identify within my own business and how I help other people. Obviously look at your career or your business, look at your family and your home environment. One of the other things I've realised affects me massively is the environment that I live in, and that it needs to be in a certain way for me to feel well. Think about your friends and your relationships. Think about your health and your fitness, not just of your body, but of your mind as well. Think about what brings you joy. What are your interests? What are your fun? What are the things you like to do for fun? That was something I was completely missing. I wasn't going out. I wasn't enjoying myself. I know we're coming out of a pandemic now, but there were an awful lot of things that really did light me up. Alice in Wonderland was one of them. I've since been to several exhibitions down in London because I've identified that is something that brings me joy and tops up my energy. Think around your spirituality. What is it that, that means to you? Money and finances, it's something that, affects all of us. Again, that was something in my life where I was in a really good place with it financially, but actually it was at the expense of absolutely everything else. And the last one, and I think this really has been a game changer for me, personal growth and the ability to give back. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we learn about other people, that actually we can make the whole world a nicer and kinder place. One of the things I do now, I volunteer for a charity called Action for Happiness. You may have heard of them. And it is all around trying to make the world a nicer, happier, kinder place. And that was something for me that I felt was really important, was actually being able to give back some of the coaching and mentoring, skills that I've got. And have developed, within a charity environment. So as I say, the worksheet I've got, I'll pop a link to it in the comments if that's all right with Siobhan later on, and you can have a little look at that. And you can start to sort of rate where those areas of your life are, and you can see on the wheel where there is maybe an imbalance that you want to look at. But as I say, that is something that is completely personal to you and will be very individual for each of us. So once you've started to do that, one of the next things that I did, because I'm a very visual person, I like to be able to see, the things that I want to do. I'd realised that I just hadn't set myself sort of any goals or things that I wanted to do or things that I wanted to be in life, not necessarily to achieve. So I set about creating a range of vision boards for myself I've done over the years on particular things. One of the things I identified, first of all, because my health was suffering so badly, was that I wanted to learn to be able to how to run. And I always used to look at people out running thinking, oh, I could never do that. And again, it was one of those limiting beliefs that had been holding me back. It was probably something that had sat there through school. I'd never been particularly into running. I'd liked sport, but running was never something that was for me. And I thought, I really, really want to learn how to run. So at my caravan site in the Easter holidays a few years ago, there's a track that goes down to the beach. So I decided that in that Easter holiday, I was going to start learning how to run. And I think even now to this day, achieving that first run down to the beach where I did it all in one go, it was all downhill and it is a mile, but actually doing it all in one go, the sense of achievement of doing that was just unbelievable. And one of the things I put on one of my vision boards was that, you know, a couple of years later, was that I actually wanted to run a marathon. And if I look back now in my life, you know, over the sort of 10 years, there is absolutely no way I would have been able to believe that that was possible. And it really just did go to make me show that the work, you know, that I'd done and the coaching that I'd had with other people as well, you know, I spent a lot of time investing in myself and being coached by other people, was that I was actually able to do that by releasing the beliefs that I'd got that sat behind it. And we actually ran the virtual London Marathon. We were supposed to be running the marathon in London, but sadly the pandemic put a shot to that. But on an amazing note, I managed to run it with my little rescue terrier dog. And I never would have been able to do something like that, you know, if the pandemic hadn't have been where it was. And it was something that I'd identified on one of my sheets that I wanted to run a marathon. And I remember writing it on there at the time thinking, wow, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do this. But I think it just shows that by doing the work and by doing the development on yourself, that it is something that is possible. One of the things I do when I do the vision boards is I do a lot of work around manifesting. You know, obviously there is a lot of work that needs to go into it. There are a lot of actions and small steps that you need to take. But I truly believe that even today, being here, the universe has shifted on its axis for me to actually be sitting here and chatting to you all today, which is amazing. I was an interesting story around that one. I wasn't able to get a place in the London Marathon initially, and I had tried lots of different charities. I tried the ballot and I just couldn't get in. So I did this vision board workshop with a friend of mine, and we sat there and we said, right, we're just going to put it on the board. We're going to put it out there into the universe. I stuck a pair of trainers on there and cut out, I think that was in one of these magazines that said how many steps the London Marathon was. And I said, I'm just going to stick it on there. And the following morning, I had 2 phone calls, which even to this day, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I had 2 phone calls with 2 different charities, and both of them offered me a place. And I just couldn't believe it. I'd been trying for months to be able to get this, get this sorted and get a place and actually sort of will it into action. But once I'd actually sort of said, right, I've made the decision, this is what I want to do. Put it out into the universe and let's just see what happens. So I'm very, very grateful that I have got managed to do that. And I think we've got very unique London Marathon medals that have actually got engraved the actual date that the marathon was supposed to be run on, but it was not run because of COVID. So it's got an overlaid plate with another date on it. So I'll have to pop a picture of that in the group because it really is amazing. So yeah, that's what I was going to move on to, just to talk about briefly, to finish, was all around, how do you then sort of put all these things together, in terms of thinking about your values, thinking about the areas of your life. What I encourage people to do, when I work with them, is initially to pick one of those areas of your life. I said there that I started on the health and on fitness because that was something I felt I needed to improve because of what had happened with my brain. That it was something I thought I've got, without my health, without my being able to do what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be able to do any of the other things. So that was where I started. As I say, I'm a very visual person, so I would encourage you to, look at one of those areas and actually start to explore it in more detail. One of the things I always say to people is try not initially to worry about the how that you're actually going to do it. Let's just look up what it is that you want to do. And more importantly, why, what is it that's driving you? Mine was definitely that I wanted to improve my health because I wanted to improve the other areas of my life. So I would encourage you to do that as well. I'm sure you have all seen vision boards, but I have got a couple here that I started just to give you a little idea. So I use all sorts of different methods, whether it's words, whether it's magazine cuttings, whether it's something in particular that's specific to you. I haven't got my London Marathon one there because the board is enormous and I don't think you'll be able to see it on the screen, but I will pop a picture of it in there as well. And then once you've started to, to think about that particular area of your life that it is that that you want to do something in, start to spend a bit of time thinking around it, thinking, well, could I set a goal around it? I teach people a system all around the word crystal, which is where Siobhan's mentioned today, and I do use lots of crystals within my parts of my healing modalities as well. The quantum healing uses crystals and pendulums, so I teach people this system called crystal, which is all around getting clear on where you are at the moment, looking at your why is it that you want to do it, and what resources have you got available to you. Yes, these all around your mindset, and yes, you actually can achieve this, and starting to change the way that you think about things can have a huge impact, on absolutely everything that you do. One of the things I always say when somebody says, I can't do that, and I say, you can't do it yet. We can all, 2 years ago, could any of us use Zoom and know what a Zoom room was? And I remember doing my first vision board workshop on Zoom probably about 2 months pre-pandemic, thinking, oh my goodness, what is this? Who are all these people on this Zoom room? And how on earth does this work? And yet we've all had to learn how to do things remotely, and it is something that we can do. So mindset is massive, in terms of how we are. I'd realised in my own mindset, I'd become quite negative, and it just wasn't attracting what I wanted. So I realised I had to make a shift in that. The next is all around the steps, that you're going to take. I was never going to start running a marathon, from day one, but it was incremental steps, literally incremental steps to being able to, build up to be able to run a mile, be able to run 2 miles. And if you'd have known me 10 years ago, you would never have thought I would be able to do something like that. T is all around your target, so your goals. What is it that you actually want to achieve? You need to have something specific in mind. Mine was the marathon in terms of running. And yours may be something completely different. A is all around your attracting, putting stuff out, the manifesting we talked about on the vision boards. I do have to be very careful personally when I manifest. I will put a picture on as well of the vision board where I had my little rescue terrier dog. Be careful, because I put a picture on of a dog and he looks exactly like the dog that is on the board. So if you have got something in particular that you've got in mind, have a specific picture would be my advice. And then L is all around launching whatever it is that you're doing and loving it, and realizing that, looking back on what you've actually done and what you've achieved and the person that you have become, and actually celebrating that in terms of what you do. So I think that pretty much covers everything I was going to talk to you about today. I hope you're all still there, because I can't see everybody's faces, which I really miss when I'm connecting with people when you can see everybody's faces, because sometimes you're talking to a blank screen. So I'm hoping everybody is still there and I haven't sent you all to sleep. Has anybody got any questions at all, Siobhan? Are there anything in the chat? Because I'm not sure I can see them.
Are you on your phone? Is that why?
Oh, let's have a look. I'm on my iPad because my because my lovely MacBook, which I've had for years and years and years, decided this morning that it was going to pack itself in. How rude! So I think I'm going to have to get a new one. I'm definitely going to have to put that on a vision. Well, interestingly, God, that's just reminded me, the iPad that I'm on now, I did a vision board, must be about 18 months ago, and I'd put a picture of an iPad Pro on there. And at the time I thought, I can't justify spending that amount of money on this iPad. And I ended up literally within about a week with a tax refund that I wasn't expecting. And it was literally to the penny of the price of the iPad and the pencil. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what's happened here? So yeah, I need to get it on a board, don't I? Definitely.
Yeah, everything you've said is... have you read Denise Duffield Thomas, who wrote Get Rich, Lucky Bitch? Yeah. I guess my question then would be like, apart from like your coaches, were there any other figures that inspired you to like sort of like go on this path, like, or any authors or like that check out?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've started reading lots and lots and lots of stuff. Audible was one of the things I downloaded because, again, I realised I like to listen to things, you know, in an audio version. When I went to university, I studied law, and I think just reading books nowadays, you know, I used to read books that were like this thick, and it's taken me a long time to actually get around to physically picking up a book, but the Audible bit feels better to me. So yeah, I've read lots of stuff around. I love Brené Brown. You know, I love Tony Robbins, although his voice has taken me a few years to get used to and actually listen to. So I think lots of the motivational people, the people that actually want to live life in a positive way, you know, and actually make a difference. You know, Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I remember reading that book and thinking, yeah, you've just got to take that first step, haven't you? Take that. Nobody knows what the 100th step is, but take that first one, and then the next one will come. And actually sometimes it'll go in a slightly different direction from where you were thinking about it. But I think sometimes we can get so stuck in the, you know, a lot of the way that our brain works goes back to the old reptilian part of our brain that keeps us stuck. And it literally is the freeze mechanism of keeping us safe, it's protecting us, but actually in our human development world, it's not helpful. So we've got to do things to actually, you know, sort of move through that and move forward.
I love that. Sorry, my internet went funny halfway through if you didn't hear anything from me. But yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially about just deep.
Yeah, it literally is that, you know. And I remember that even the name that I've got, you know, I remember talking to my parents about it a few years ago, and I said, did you give me my name for a particular reason, you know, that like that leap of faith or that, you know? And I was expecting there to be this amazing story behind it. My mum was like, no, I knew somebody whose daughter was called Faith and I really liked it. I was like, oh, I was expecting a really like powerful story there that I could use, but no.
Profound.
Well, I've obviously been given a name for a reason. So it literally is, isn't it? It's having that belief in ourselves that. And I'd lost touch with my intuition. I'd lost touch with who I was at the core of me and what I could bring to the world, you know, not what we can get out of it, but actually when you look at life from a point of view of how can you serve people and how can you help, something just changes and you become so much more grateful for the life that we've all got and the chances that we've got to make a difference.
I love that. Thank you, Faith. And I'm so sorry as well for saying that you're going to talk about crystals.
It's fine. I absolutely love crystals. I have loads of them, and I've got a couple of them here in front of me for my I love that. This is flower agate at the moment. So yeah, I absolutely love crystals, and that was why when I called my business, I was like, right, what is this all around? And I was like, it's got to have crystal in it somewhere. What's it going to be called?
Love that. Does anybody else have any other questions for Faith? You can put them in the chat or unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'd love to speak to somebody. That would be really nice.
we've had lots of lurkers in all day, so everybody's just sort of like watching, and I think people have been taking it in, but they're a bit shy.
No, that's fine. It's, as I say, it's so funny, isn't it? 2 years ago, none of us could use Zoom, and now we're all you're on mute. We definitely need t-shirts.
I was smiling to myself when you said about that.
Yeah, well, you know, it is, isn't it? When we have to learn and when we're forced into a situation where we have to do it, and it just shows that we can, you know, it is something we can do and we can change.
Definitely.
I will pop in the chat where people can find me, but my I'm Crystal Clear is my business name, and I am on Facebook as Faith Victoria, so you can find me in either of those places if you want to learn more. And if you want to download it gives you a great starting point of something to do.
Thank you so much, Faith.